Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? Well, this is what is it? The 17th, I think, of February 2015, and it's February 17th, and I have an authority problem. I've always had an authority problem. It's always been something that I've just considered part of me. You know who I am. You know, when I was younger, I remember I went to the Stash. It's this head shop. It was really the only place to get, paraphernalia in the Portland area back then. One of the only ones. And we'd walk over there and buy stuff. You know, you couldn't go into the pipe section, but you could go into the cool buttons and clothes section. And I bought this pin. It was called, it said Question Reality. And I wore it for years. Thinking back, I wonder what happened to it. But it was really kind of a, I don't know, just a little offshoot from the whole question authority thing. And I've always been the kind of person who questions reality and authority. So I think that they both are very, I wouldn't say they're mutually exclusive necessarily, because they're kind of fall into the same category. We believe those who claim to have authority about a subject, and therefore those people help us to determine our reality. So we're questioning authority, making sure that the authority is legitimate, and that's allowing us to question reality better. So, we have to develop our idea of what is real and what is this world about, based on not just our own views. And this is it's the hardest thing to really reconcile, because our own subjective views are the only things that we really can be sure about, in the sense that we know we've experienced them. But at the same time, if a person has a lot of, let's say, particular experiences, or let's take a person who hears voices, for example, this person may think that that's the norm and that is reality. But after talking with more people and finding that most people don't have that, or most people don't have a voice in their head, or a person may determine that they maybe are schizophrenic, or that they have a particular condition that is outside of the norm. It's maybe not the best example, but sometimes people have an idea about the way things are, and they'll tell you, hey, this is what I found out. Let's say this is what happened in ancient history. This is what happened in ancient Egypt. And they'll say, I've done all this research to find out that everything we've been told is a lie, and that this is actually what happened. So then you might question that person to say, well, how can you prove this, or how can you be sure? And they'll say, well, it's through my own research, and you just have to take my word for it. Now, at that point, the person doesn't have any authority. They don't have any ethos, which is the credibility that a person needs to have in order to have a person believe. In other words, a liar who tells a lot of lies is not going to be believed when they come up with one truth. Likewise, a person who speaks the truth all the time is going to be believed if they tell a lie, because of their ethos. So it's easier for an honest person to bullshit other people, but the honest person doesn't want to bullshit. That's how he developed that trust and that honesty, is through being honest. So I guess my question is, at what point do we set aside our own views and say, okay, we have to take authority on this subject? We have science. Science is a great example. None of us have, very few of us have a laboratory where we can actually go do, physics experiments. And I don't know many people who own a particle accelerator. So we have to take the word of the people who are doing the experiments at face value. And at a point we become suspicious of people. It's this fine line between thinking that we're being lied to all the time, and realizing that most people aren't out to lie, but rather it's difficult for them to express new ideas without being beaten down by their peers. If a scientist comes up with a new idea within the paradigm, they're going to be ridiculed. That's just how it is. It's just like if a Christian comes up in church and says, hey guys, I would like to reinterpret, what it means, what Jesus means, or try to have a different outlook on a particular, part of it. No, there's none of that. This is what we tell you. We are the authority on this. Like the church is the authority on the Bible. Just like the books and the scientists are the authority on what's going on around us. Anybody who's looked into metaphysics and these strange, unexplainable things like even things like quantum non-locality, which is the idea that if something affects one atom, it affects another atom on the opposite end of the universe at the exact same time. We have the authority telling us, hey, this shows that the universe isn't what we thought it was. Then we have another authority telling us, oh, that's just bogus, we'll explain it, it must be something else. So we have to kind of nitpick through all the details to find out who's telling the truth, and what it comes down to is not really the truth. It's not about the truth. It's not about who's telling the truth. And that's one of the most important components, is that it's not about who's telling the truth. It's about how many of those people think that they're telling the truth out of a misunderstanding, perhaps. Like reading a line wrong in a book or interpreting someone's comment wrong. And those little things are like little metaphors for the bigger picture. We study something and we come to a conclusion and we believe this is true. We convince ourselves it's true. So when the person speaks, they appear to have that. Well, the ethos is the credibility of the person. This is the three-part Aristotelian argument. You got the ethos, then the pathos, and the logos. The logos is the subject itself. The ethos is the person himself. The pathos, which is where pathological comes from, is the method to which a person conveys, the way in which a person voices what they believe. And you'll find that the people who aren't trying to tell you this is the fact, this is how it is, and you're wrong, the ones who keep it open-ended are the ones that are the easiest to listen to. Because they're able to say, this is what I think I know, but I'm not going to try to draw conclusions and assume this. You can make your own decisions. The best science teachers are the ones that say, this is what we think we know, but do your own experiments to find out. Because the more experiments we do, the more scientific evidence we have. Likewise, the best spiritual teachers will tell you, I'm not going to tell you who you are or how to find your truth. You have to do that yourself. Or the person who says, don't believe what I'm telling you, like I do, or I try to do. People can't believe anything I say and take it for word or for gospel, because obviously I'm just a guy sitting here talking about what I think is true. I've never make videos where I say this is a fact, this is how it is, and this is what you have to believe to be happy, because I understand that there's so many different types of people, so many different situations and circumstances and mindsets. And as much as we look the same on the outside, in the inside we have completely different demeanors, completely different worlds. Like, it's the one thing, you can see the difference between the looks of you and another person. Imagine the differences you can't see. I mean, we all speak, say in this community, we all speak the same language. We all live with the same rules as far as working, coming home, having a house, putting food on the table, and all these things. So within that paradigm of it, we have to follow suit with the rest of the people in order to make it. But beyond that, our deeper inner thoughts are completely, we have no idea. I have no idea what a person's mind is structured like. I mean, there's no way. It's the one thing we can't know is, what is a person thinking? How do they really think it? And how do they feel about it? The way that certain events affect people's emotions, one person scoffs, another person cries. And these are all parts on what we've developed in our own lives. But when we're not sure if what we think is true, or if we're not sure how to feel about something, we divert to authority on a subject. And I guess it's an individual choice as to how much you're going to question everything. But I guess if I wanted to leave this on a positive note here, would be to say that question everything you're told, but don't be so stubborn that you refuse to believe anything. Because I think this is the number one problem that I've seen in modern society since the internet came about. The distrust has reached epic proportions. It has gotten to the point where people do not believe anything anymore. They think that they're being lied to on every corner, every angle, and every turn, that everyone's out to get them, that all the authority is out to fool them in order to make money off of them or to keep them as a slave race or whatever. Everybody has their own ideas, and in a lot of cases this is true. But I think that if we start believing that all authority is out to fool us, then we really are only looking at ourselves and projecting ourselves, our own discomforts, or I don't know. If a person's been lied to a lot, they're more prone to think that they're still being lied to. And we have been lied to a lot. As American people, such as the idea that Americans have been tested on by their own government, that those people who are running the military and those people in charge and those people behind the banking, they don't really care about the average person. So they're going to do whatever they can to finance experts or authority figures to speak about subjects and try to make things that aren't okay seem okay, and try to make things that are okay seem not okay. Such as the person who's trying to stand up for their beliefs. A person who let's say a war breaks out and I come out and I make a video and say, this is wrong. This is horrible. Look at what we're doing. And rather than people say, that's true, we shouldn't go to war, they'll believe what the authority figures tell them by saying, oh, you must be against the troops. This whole thing after 9/11, the whole war when it broke out, I remember just shaking my head, just saying, I can't believe it, that the people are going to buy into this shit. The people are going to really think that it's to find these weapons of mass destruction, because that's what authority told us. Then the authority told us that we were there to free the Iraqi people. We had three or four different reasons we were there over a period of like 2 years, and nobody questioned that, because authority told them that's how it is. So hell yeah, we become suspicious. I'm damn suspicious of everybody, but it doesn't mean I distrust everybody. It just means I'm wary. And put it this way, those who have the money to put forth the propaganda are the ones that for example, if you go and you watch a commercial and it's talking bad about something that the liberals want to do, you can ask yourself, who funded this? Is this a conservative funded idea? Of course, they always are, but is it really the idea that they're opposed to, or is it the people? The idea of being a liberal or a left-winger? We're childish in our notions of what's right and wrong. We try to put everything into black and white, but it's not that simple. There is no black and white in politics. It's a very gray area. But I don't know. I question everything, but I still have to at least believe that the grass is really green and that I'm really standing on firm ground. Otherwise, I might as well be in a dream, and life would just pass me by in that case. So, don't know what else to say about that. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I'm gonna go make the most of it. Peace out.